So I'm going to hit the start button, and then I'm going to hit this intro, and then I'll let it play out, and then we'll see how this goes.
I am inevitable.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Side Scheme. It's a podcast about everybody's favorite superhero card game, Marvel Champions. One time I'll get that right. It's not this time. One time I'll get it right. I'm BananaCrapshoot. And I'm here with, as always, my perfectly balanced co-host, Tommy of Titan. Tommy, how are you?
Hanging tough. How are you, Banana? We got the sniffles in my house. So it seems like every time we go to record, children refuse to go to bed.
The sniffles?
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know if that's critical, but I know what is critical is our guest we have with us, one of the hosts of the Critical Encounters podcast, Steve. Steve, how are you?
Good. That was good. I'm doing well tonight.
I was planning that all day. While I was driving around at work, I was like, all right. So, why don't you tell us a little about the Critical Encounters and you and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I host Critical Encounters podcast. It's also a Marvel Champions podcast, but we focus in on the villains and the encounter sets. So every episode is another encounter set. We try to talk about the theme of the cards and the villain, give some backstory, and come at the whole game as if we're the villains. We try to do that. Episodes are short. We try to keep them under half an hour, so they're perfect for your commute. And we've been having a good time. We have, at the time of this recording, I think 5 or 6 released. So that's about it.
I like it. I think it's an interesting take that nobody else has done. Everybody talks about the heroes.
Yeah, everyone talks heroes, so we thought we'd do the villains. You can find us, I should mention this, you can find us at Critical Encounters on Facebook, criticalencouners.libsyn.com. We're on every podcast player I could get us on, so from iTunes right on down to whatever podtail, everything in between. So just give us a search.
One thing I want to say real quick that I would like you to touch on about your podcast is your custom condition or environment card you guys have.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we all know that the game can sometimes be skewed in the hero's favor, I'll say. So we made a little encounter card, or environment card. It's called Critical Encounters, right? And there's some house rules that we have on there, and they include every standard encounter card always has a boost icon, even if there isn't one printed on it. You cannot cancel Shadow of the Past. So if that comes up, you're going to have to deal with your nemesis. Guard minions also protect other elite minions, not just the villain. So that helps keep characters like Madam Hydra alive. And then the Crisis icon on the side scheme protects all side schemes. So you have to do the Crisis one first. You can't do any other side schemes. I think that's all of them.
That's pretty brutal, man.
I might have missed one. Oh, and always put in the expert cards, even if you're not playing on expert mode. So
like a hybrid stage 1, 2.
Yeah, so even if you're playing standard mode, you still throw those 3 expert cards in just for fun. So it can ramp the difficulty up a little bit with that if you play with that. And you can find that card on our Facebook page. You can find it on the Hall of Heroes LCG.com under the content creator link. So it's out there for you to get your hands on.
Very cool. All right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna ask you some questions, so the listeners, both of our listeners here at the Side Scheme, can get to know you a little bit more. So, Tommy, you got a question
Mom.
or two?
Hi to both of you guys.
Hi, Mr. Chip's mom.
All right, so I'm gonna start with because we know you favor the villain side, the correct side, the unfortunately portrayed side. What would
just
be
misunderstood?
Yeah, they're just misunderstood. So which would be your favorite of those poor misunderstood characters?
In the game or just in general?
In general, in whether it's from a comic perspective or a movie perspective or the X-Men 90s cartoon, whatever medium you enjoy consuming Marvel. Even if it's just this game, if that's your only frame of reference. What's your favorite villain?
Okay, so I never really read too much of the comics. I did read some comics in the 90s, some X-Men stuff, and I really liked Magneto because he's not really a villain, at least not to himself, right? He's just looking out for the rest of the mutants, and sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy. So I really like that because he has a purpose that you can sympathize with, like a real reason for what he's doing, not just I want to take over the world or I just need more money, that kind of thing. So I think in that frame, it would probably be Magneto. And he's okay in the new movies and the movies. Like they did an okay job with all that. I think in the game, I really like the Green Goblin in Mutagen because, as we were talking about off air, he's hard. So it gives you a real run for your money.
My man. Somebody's smoke detector's going off.
Yeah,
Not mine.
Somebody burned their pizza. All right, so
Edit that right out.
Yeah,
we don't do any editing here. It goes right out. What about I got a question for you. What about what's your favorite hero in the game and in Marvel in general?
In the game, I like Miss Marvel. She's a lot of fun. I wasn't sure if I would like her at first, but I really like how much she gets to flip back and forth. But even when she's an alter ego, you're doing all this fun stuff. I like the combos, being able to do, replay a card. And I find she works good in pretty much any aspect too. And because of that, I went and read a bunch of her comics. And she's got a good storyline and an interesting, backstory and a more modern, struggles. She's a teenage in this day and age, so I'm far from my teenage years, but I can still relate. So she's pretty interesting. But like out of the movies, I really like Iron Man or Captain America. They just I like the guys who just kick butt and they just look good on screen doing what they do. So,
which side of the Civil War are you on? Getting the real important questions out.
That's a tough one. I think Captain America. So, from the movies. So
it's fair. Another one.
Yeah, I think I found his stuff more interesting. So.
All right. What's your favorite MCU movie?
Endgame. I thought Endgame was great with all the callbacks to all the previous movies. So.
All right, that's fair. What's your game history?
It probably should have been Infinity War because Thanos wins. Just
that would have been the character. Critical Encounters answer.
Yeah. I got to go back and say that one, or my guys are going to kill me. But it's still Endgame. So.
What about, do you have a long storied gaming history with competitive games or LCGs?
I started playing in my teens that little barely known card game Magic the Gathering. Right?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it, right? I started playing that, played a lot of that, and then discovered Legend of the Five Rings when AEG owned it. Played a ton of that. Used to play that in tournaments and I just really liked that gameplay. And then fell out of the competitive stuff and discovered the Lord of the Rings LCG by Fantasy Flight Games. And I've been playing that for the 9 years of its run. Really enjoy that. Really like the co-op aspect. As I've gotten older, I discover I like the co-op better. My game group, it's friendlier. The communities are really nice. Not that they aren't with the competitive stuff, but there's just a different feel to it sometimes when everybody's playing the same game for the same reasons and they're all co-op together. and then I started playing Arkham, and then Lord of the Rings is finishing, and this one's starting. So I gave this guy a try and really enjoy it. But I still play a little bit of Keyforge now, competitive with my friends. So
Keyforge.
yeah.
Do you like Keyforge? Just
I really enjoyed the first set or two, and then haven't played a ton recently in the new sets. But it was really nice not having, like, I just bought a couple decks. You can just open a pack and play. So that part of it was kind of nice. But,
so I bought 30 decks of the first set.
yeah, that sounded like me.
And then I didn't buy any of the second. And then I bought like 5 of this newest one. Because our Star Wars Destiny local isn't a Star Wars Destiny local. So they play whatever they want there now.
Oh.
Gotta get them playing Champions.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some like co-op organized play events for Marvel, like they have for Arkham or Lord of the Rings, and those can be a lot of fun.
Can you can I ask? And sorry about that. My wife was running a very hot shower that set off our smoke.
Set up the smoke. Wow.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah,
the shower set off. Maybe not have the smoke detector in the bathroom.
It's not, but our house isn't particularly large, and the shower is right next to the baby's room. So miraculously, no children woke up, and they're both fine. So
that's both good and bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask Steve if you could maybe elaborate on what's in those kits, because I actually don't know what the current kits look like for Arkham or Lord of the Rings that they've done in the past. If you could maybe elaborate on what we could potentially get, because I've heard that reference a few times.
Oh yeah, sure. So they're both slightly different from each other, but the Lord of the Rings, I think Lord of the Rings would be a good example of what we could get. Usually it's a kit for 4 players that your store has to purchase. So you want to tell your store, hey, get me this kit. They usually run $10 to $20 per person to cover the cost because it's not competitive. In the Lord of the Rings, there have been 4 playmats, 4 custom quests. So you get an entire encounter set. So in this game, it would represent, maybe we get a villain and his whole encounter set, and it's a playable encounter right out of the box. You don't need a modular set. You don't need anything like that. So Lord of the Rings, when you take it out, shuffle it up, and you play against it. And usually there's one alternate art card, like a hero or something, that comes with it. So that's the Lord of the Rings one. They've also, some of the first ones had like a deck box that might have come with it, or a poster, some little side thing. The Arkham ones, well, also 4 players. Usually they came with the first one didn't come with any quests, but it came with 4 playmats plus alternate art for your investigator, and like your little investigator card was like plastic instead of cardboard and had alternate art on it. But then they started, I believe, the more recent ones, you've got the quest with it too. And all of the quests for Lord of the Rings and Arkham for these organized play kits eventually show up on the FFG site as in-house manufacturing or print on demand. Mm-hmm. So you can buy it right from them. They'll print it at FFG instead of over in China, and then they'll ship them out. So you still get it. The cards are a different kind of quality, but you put it in a sleeve, and who cares? So
that's awesome. That's good insight, because I heard people reference it. I think even FFG referenced it on a stream a few times, and I was like, I just don't know what's in this kit, and I even tried to look it up, but I didn't know anybody who had played any of those recently.
Usually what you get is one of these things at Gen Con, and one of them some other time. The Lord of the Rings one will be in May. I think the Arkham one as well. They got pushed. Those guys got pushed back with all their production and stuff going on at FFG. So usually you get 2 a year. You get a Gen Con one and a Fellowship one, and sometimes they're the same quest but different alternate art cards. So in the past they've been different, and then recently they've been the same but with different alt cards. So it's hard to say what we might get. But a 4-player game, I know for Lord of the Rings, we go into my store and say I want a kit. 2 or 3 of us buy, and then there'll be some random person that joins us, and we get it. Maybe they play a little bit, they sit down, and we play 4 players, and you get to know somebody else and introduce them to the game. And it's all co-op, it's so friendly. Nobody's fearful of showing up and getting their butt kicked in some competitive game.
It's far more welcoming for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully both our listeners know a little bit more about you now. Let's move right into some champion stuff and talk about what we've been playing, decks we've been playing, critical encounters we've been playing against. So, Tommy, we'll start with you. What's been your deal lately?
So we got Thor, and I actually wrote an article about ways to kind of allow your friends to get some novelty out of the Thor pack, where the Thor player plays a different aspect than aggression, and then I listed 3 examples. And that didn't really happen in our play group. We had my buddy John wanted to play Thor aggression, so I built a Captain Marvel leadership deck because I knew we were going to be playing into some tougher scenarios. And I really built it combo heavy, trying to brutalize people with team up off of a Wonder Man who was enraged and inspired. And it worked really well. I mean, when you have a 0-cost event that's giving you +6 attack, I mean, I was playing Wonder Man and he was basically a support as opposed to an ally. He just sat there and waited for team up. And Captain Marvel goes through a deck so fast that you're able to trigger, 2 or 3 team ups a cycle, and that's enough damage to warrant all the resource investment you put into those cards. The 3 of Wonder Man, Enraged, and Inspired. So she's swinging in for 8 a couple times, and then I also played a bunch of Avengers Assembled, so I could really try to make the big combo plays, which worked out really well. I had a couple Avengers Assembled turns where I dealt 25-ish damage. And then I also buffed my teammates and a handful of their allies. So it went well. We beat Ultron, and then we played Risky Business, but my buddy John had never played it, and we just decided we weren't going to tell him how to play it.
Nice.
So we kind of just played like a little Avengers Disassemble, and Thor charged in and just flipped him like on his first. He's like, I'm just going to hammer throw this guy. And we're like, all right, cool. You wasted 2 damage. Now we all take 4 indirect. And we just kind of let it go. Like no take backs, and tried to play it. I think it was more as intended, so it was actually a lot of fun. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I also played 2 solo games with Thor, and a build that I'm using where I just run Thor and the Hulk and try to cut down on the number of mental cards I'm using, and it worked really well. I beat Ultron on Expert solo twice. So one time, the very first card turned into a drone was Mjolnir, which sucked, but I still wound up winning that game miraculously.
Crazy.
Do you find with the Thor aggression that you don't have enough thwart, or do you just power through so fast it doesn't matter?
No, so it's definitely your assessment there, if that's your opinion, is 100% correct, and I agree with it, because he can't thwart worth a damn, and he can power through, which is what I did one of the games. But the game where Mjolnir was the drone, I decided I wasn't going to flip back right away because I didn't want to have to deal with that threat. So I decided to just suck it up and not have the hammer for like 3 rounds, and I kind of had to play the long game there. Which meant I did wind up having to thwart more. But when I built the deck, I tried to include as many allies with 2 thwart as I could, knowing that I was really going to have to rely on my allies to keep threat down. And that worked out really well because he doesn't. Because I'm running the Hulk, I'm not running like first aid or anything. I am running downtime and endurance to try to get my heals when I do flip. And just he has like 22 life when he has his helmet and endurance. So he can tank a lot of hits, but it's always nice to have that last ally with its last health soak a big Ultron swing, and then just do a lot of thwarting in the interim. And it worked out. I mean, I walked a tightrope to get there, but I did actually beat that, which I was shocked at. It was like an hour-long solo game.
Yeah, Ultron demolished me twice playing Thor solo. So, but I think I was slipping too much, looking back. And then just got behind on scheme too much.
It's tough just to flip with him in solo. Like, I was only flipping when I had like 2 life left, and I'm like, oh man, I got to recover for 6 here. Like, this is brutal. Because it just one time of them scheming is just like, it's so detrimental to what you can do.
Yeah, 100%. That's all I've really been playing recently is the Thor stuff that came out, trying the different aggression variants to figure out what works. I think I got a good multiplayer. I played some 2-handed games, and I'm happy with that Thor aggression list, but trying to work out the kinks on the solo build. Because it is a different animal with Thor. Mm-hmm. What about you, Steve? What have you been playing recently?
Well, I just got my hands on Thor on Friday, so we did play 3-player Thor against Green Goblin Mutagen with the bomb scare set in there. So went for the hardest villain with the easiest encounter set. But you'll have to wait until one of our issues drops to hear about that gameplay.
Ooh, nice. A little teaser.
I like the teaser.
Yeah. we also review Bomb Scare leading up into it. So, but we generally play 4 players. I haven't played solo too much, a few times, but I'm lucky enough to have a pretty big game group, regular Friday night. So we play a ton of Marvel, 4 players. I know Wrecking Crew. We gave them a shot, 4 players, and it's fun. You know, we won. It's a lot of pieces on the board, and we ended up with a 9 acceleration tokens at one point on the main scheme.
Yeah.
So, because a 15 card deck with 4 players goes by really fast, and then it would like change to somebody else's deck and flip back. So we were never really able to control what villain was in charge or which villain we were fighting against. But even with the 9 acceleration tokens and whatnot, we still won because 4 players, 1 aspect each. You know, we're able to do a little bit of everything. So I do like the Wrecking Crew, even with the faults that it might have. So
I think mechanically Wrecking Crew is a lot of fun. But yeah, that's just my take.
Yeah, we did play that 2 players, and we hit the right combo for Pile Driver, and two or three cards came up, and Iron Man got attacked like twice without realizing what was happening, and just killed me off. So it was nice to see a villain take down Tony Stark finally. But in the end, my partner playing Black Panther ended up winning the game for us. So we still won, even if Tony was down and out.
Black Panther, that's Tommy's sweet spot right there.
And that's my boy until Doctor Strange comes out. Then I have a new love in my life.
Yeah, he looks fun. Strange does.
Yeah, he looks really, really. My fear is that he's way less straightforward than Cap, but he might be like in that similar like tier. I'm a little worried he's going to be too good, and I kind of like playing characters that are not as good. That's why I like Black Panther.
Have to work for it.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we'll jump right into Thor, I guess, since he's the new hotness. Officially came out Friday. If your friendly local game store got it and you didn't direct order FFG directly undercutting the stores they say they want to support. So,
yeah, I don't get that.
That nobody does. Backhanded at all.
It surely wasn't. I'm not from Canada. So, initial thoughts on Thor. What do you got? Open to anybody. Jump in there.
He does a lot of damage and can't thwart for any. He just can't thwart. It's just bad. Defenders of the Nine Realms is so risky, but it is great value. If you do land a minion within like the first, 4 cards, I think it's a good value. So
you just play Justice then, right? Problem solved. That's what I'm saying on Discord.
After that does pop up a lot. After Widow comes out, I think Justice Thor will probably end up being fine. But I mean, there's definitely some synergy with Thor and Justice. Just the fact that he has so much health and he could, make more use of great responsibility, probably a little easier than some characters. And just being able to confuse the villain with concussive blow is so powerful and would allow you to take a turn in alter ego without, just falling too far behind. So, I mean, there's definitely some upside there. Not to mention that, isn't there the card that every time you kill a minion, I can't remember what it's called, you can exhaust it to remove a threat?
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called. Surveillance team or something?
No, interrogation room.
Interrogation room. That's it. Surveillance team is the tactical team. That's the inverse of that.
Thwarts for 3 over 3 turns. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, interrogation room. It's not a card I've included in many decks, but I think maybe in a Thor deck, just because he's going to even be pulling them to himself and getting him out of the deck.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. I played him right out of the box, so with no edits, and I haven't had a chance to play him a second time yet. And that Defender of the Nine Realms, I just totally, you know what? Every time that was in my hand, I just immediately played it. There's no discussion, no thought about it. It's Thor. Bam. Down it goes. Give me a minion, and I'll thwart for 3 or remove 3 threat, and get a minion, draw some cards, kill that minion because it's Thor. He's easy to kill. So that's a fun little play. So even if it is risky, you could, you might know there's only one minion left depending on what you're playing, right? Rhino doesn't have a lot of minions in it, but if you're playing Mutagen, there's a ton of goblins in it. So you can make an educated guess how many cards you might get. So
I guessed wrong once and whiffed.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You emptied the deck?
Against Ultron. Yeah.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, that was one of the...
Yeah,
there's not a lot of printed minions in Ultron unless you add them. Like I played Masters of Evil Ultron. And
I was playing Legions of Hydra.
Oh yeah, you should have had some in there.
And I was like, I need to remove threat from this scheme, and I really need to draw a card so I can play out my hand. It's like I wanted those 2 cards so I could pay for a hammer throw or something. I forget what it was, and I threw down Defender of the Nine Realms and emptied the deck completely, whiffed acceleration token, and I didn't get a minion, I didn't get the cards, just epic fail all the way around.
You put all that stuff right back in that you have to face. Yeah.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah. I found I didn't care for the card for Asgard. I didn't really use that. Search your deck for an Asgard card because it's alter ego, and I was trying my hardest not to flip, so I don't think that card... I guess you really got to time it, right? If you know you're going to flip, but that card I found was kind of a dud in my hand for most of my game.
I agree. The saving, so it's like if you get it round 1, I'm grabbing Asgard.
Yeah,
right.
The support. But if I don't see it round 1, the only good thing about it was a physical resource and it allowed me to trigger Yarn Porn.
Yep.
How about Mean Swing, huh?
Yeah.
That card is so good.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, no, I was going to say I used it. I did use that for Asgard to go grab God of Thunder to accelerate my resources at that point. So,
yeah.
Did you guys make use of the Hall of Heroes? Have you had any luck with that one?
I got it to trigger 2 of the 3 games I played with Thor.
Okay.
The one game I just got it too late. By the time I got it down, and then I lost. But the 2-handed game, I triggered it.
Yeah. So I'm giving away all my side scheme stuff I'm going to talk about in my show, but
sorry, only to 2 people, just 2 listeners.
Oh yeah, okay. At one point, I was able to lightning strike, is that what it's called? Lightning strike, and kill off 6 minions put
That's
6 tokens
awesome.
on Hall of Heroes.
Oh, man.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and then so that's like 2 rounds in a row. You could, it's like they flipped at the end of this turn, got 3. The start of next turn, got 3 more cards. Yeah, so it was a good timing. It timed out well. So
Lightning Strike was, I guess, clarified in an email that it is not an attack, and that when they reprint Thor, the text on Lightning Strike is going to change at the end from this attack to this damage ignores tough. So
oh yeah,
just a heads up.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's not an attack, and in the text at the end it says this attack ignores tough status cards. It's going to be changed to this damage ignores tough status cards. So it should not have the attack in parentheses.
Yeah, I noticed it wasn't an attack, which, it was like, hey, this isn't even an attack. So you
Right.
could be stunned and used it. But I never noticed that they put the words, this attack ignores tough status cards.
Right.
I think
So
I've gotten used to FFG's wording where just
so
playing it as
75.
intended.
Right. So 75 people sent rules emails, and Caleb finally responded and said that it's going to change to this damage.
Nice.
But yeah, overall, I think Thor's a lot of fun. I don't know if he's as strong or like when we did like our predictions in Tommy's article with like his tier list. I put Thor at A. I don't know if Thor is A. In multiplayer, I definitely think he's like an A tier hero. In solo, I don't know if he's he might be like Black Panther level in solo, in my opinion. But he's a lot of fun. I'm glad he's given me a little bit of a challenge to figure out in solo play. Not like Captain America was just straightforward right out of the box, destroy everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we put him to good use. I think with his lightning strike and his hammer throw, what it's called, hammer throw.
Yep.
A quest, if you're multiplayer, a quest that's got minions in it, he can just deal with those while everybody else worries about the rest of the stuff. Right? One guy can be pounding on the villain, somebody else can be thwarting. Thor can just take down all the minions and then do damage after the fact with his overkill and stuff.
It's crazy that he can take out as many minions as he can and still deal like significant chunks of damage.
Yeah.
To a villain. I think he is A tier, but it's interesting that I think the game is like not ideally balanced for solo play, but it's interesting that he's a character that suffers in solo play because he's so specialized.
Yeah, which is good for the game, I think. Having those general all-around awesome characters like Captain America, if every character was like that, I think would make the game very boring very fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'm
why
actually
I'm
more
kinda
interested in
worried.
the aggression cards overall, like moving forward, than I am in Thor.
How'd you guys like Hercules?
He's a baller.
Yeah, I had 5 minions engage with me. He only costs 1 resource.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
Boom. And then those 5 minions all died that turn as well. So it was like, boom, boom.
That's like getting $1,000 appliance at Scratch and Dent for $100.
Yeah.
I thought Hercules was good when I played him. I was very happy. Like
I do think in it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's on the curve for 6, so anything less than 6 you're paying for him is just straight value.
I think though in a quest or an encounter where there's significantly fewer minions, he's not as good because you're not going to get that reduction.
Yeah, like against Rhino.
You might for 6 you could bring out 2 separate allies and thwart an attack. You can, you know what I mean? You get some different stuff. But
Yeah,
if you have a
Sif
few
and
minions,
Hulk.
he's worth it.
The thing is that the toughest encounters in the game right now have a ton of minions. I mean,
Yeah, it's
Mutagen
true.
and Ultron and even Claw has a lot of minions.
Yep.
Claw only has 1 more than Rhino in his base deck.
I don't know why it feels like he has more minions.
I think it's because you cycle through the deck faster. Because
Maybe.
of his forced interrupt or forced response, whatever it is, where he gets
Well, and
additional boost cards.
Are you playing with Masters of Evil? Because that's got a bunch of extra minions, and then Rhino's got Bomb Scare in it, and there's only like 2 in there.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember what we played last time with Claw. It's been a little bit since we played
I mean,
Claw.
if you're following like the suggested ones, right? But
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a difference too, definitely the modular set you're adding.
yep.
I just thought it was interesting because in my head too, I always felt like Claw had a lot of minions, and then you go and you count them out, and Rhino has 4 and Claw has 5.
What size are their decks?
I think Rhino is 21, and Claw I think. Let me look here. I'm on Hall of Heroes, so I can find it real quick. Just gotta scroll all the way down.
15 for Claw.
Oh, so that's a much higher percentage then of minions to cards in deck, and not to mention he's getting the double boost.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait a minute. It's not right. 15. I take that back. It's like 15 unique cards, but 21 total cards. I guess.
Okay, so it's the same amount.
Yes, they have the same size decks. But
That's right.
but Claw, I think it's just because he cycles through them faster, and I think what Steve said is right with the suggested modular set makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Because like the Masters of Evil, like he said, it's a good point. What are you jamming four minions in?
Masters of Evil was I gotta scroll back down now. It's at least 4. It might be 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta find Masters of Evil. It's 4.
It looks like really it's only 16 cards. I'm on Marvel CDB, and their total count includes Claw and his main schemes. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like 5 cards out of the 21, so you're down to 16 actual encounter cards. We haven't reviewed Claw yet, but we have done Rhino. So if you go back and check out Critical Encounters, there's 2 issues on Rhino. So
The first one ended, and I was like, "Wait a minute! You can't stop there."
dun dun dun.
It did. It really was. It was like a cliffhanger.
Yep. We were and we recorded both of them at the same back to back, but we released them a week apart. So just like any good villain.
It's perfect. But so the Rhino one is 21 as well, but it's not counting any of the 3 villains or the 1 scheme. So the thing is, Claw's got 2 extra schemes, right?
Defense net. Oh, main schemes?
Yeah,
He's just got 1.
1 and 2.
just the 1 and 2. Okay, so he's got 1 more scheme then, and that's it. I don't know. I guess maybe it's because he flips more, or maybe because I just played
I think he's
modulars a lot.
because he's pulling 2 cards every round.
I mean, it's also the fact that when you do reveal a weapons runner as a boost, it does come into play.
Yeah,
And he's
that's
revealing a
another
lot of
thing.
boosts.
Yeah. All right, so that was counting cards on Hall of Heroes with the
I had
side
to take my shoes
scheme
off.
and a critical encounter member. Any final thoughts on Thor before we move on here?
I'm eager to build for Thor, which I haven't had a chance to do. I think that'll be fun.
That's a good point. I know Tommy had an article, but do you have any thoughts outside of aggression to build with Thor that you're excited to try?
Not yet. I want to see what I can do with, like we said, justice maybe to help them out. But even leadership isn't terrible because you can get that God of Thunder out, so you've got some extra resources. But his hand size is so small, so that's where it's going to be tricky, I think.
I didn't think his hand size was that much of a detriment in my games, but I always got Asgard out early, so I don't know if that had something
Yeah,
to
if you
do
can get Asgard, God of Thunder, that's producing resources for you. If you can get a Helicarrier or a Avengers Mansion, whichever, if you use those. I do want to give it a try with the enhanced strength one, whichever one produces strength resources or physical resources.
enhanced physique.
Enhanced physique with Yarnborn out, so that you just can always feed into that, right? You don't have to worry about cards in your hand.
I'll tell you, the Yarnborn was so much better than I thought it was going to be in my second game. I mean, it killed more minions than Lightning Strike in my second game. It was killing everything.
I didn't get it out until late in our game, so it only triggered off a couple times, but I could see the potential there.
Yeah, but the enhanced physique is definitely something I'd look at, and it makes me jealous of Cap, because Cap could just be like superhero soldier or super soldier serum. I swear I can talk. It's the alliteration. Damn you, Stanley.
Yeah, that Cap aggression was my favorite deck before Thor came out, and now I don't even want to touch it because of how ridiculous I know it is. Because of how strong it was before, and now you just buffed it, and I don't even want to play it because I already know. You know what I mean? Like,
I actually just want to play Miss Marvel after the new aggression cards, because I feel like Hall of Heroes is like tailor made for her, because she's a character that likes to be an alter ego, so you can actually flip and draw 3 frequently
and not have to feel bad about it or feel like you're going to lose.
Well, I mean, she's pretty much flipping every turn just because you have all those supports, so it actually is worthwhile for her to flip. But you're definitely gonna have to run like chase them down. Although you do have the 3 sneak by, so
yeah, and you get shrink going, you can do okay. Yeah.
I think I'd like to try that. I think that'll be a fun deck.
I agree. All right, so recently FFG put out a rules reference update. Just wanted to highlight real quick. The biggest difference was you can only play, right, am I getting this right? You can only play defense cards if you are the target of the attack.
That
right?
is correct. Yes.
Yep. And that was changed basically because you can't use like Cosmic Flight anymore with Captain Marvel if you're not the, like if it's not an attack, you can't use Cosmic Flight to ignore the damage, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
That's correct.
Yeah. Or reduce the damage.
That was actually a kind of a big change that wasn't talked about. The one that got talked about a lot was Preemptive Strike, which definitely got hit, considerably, because if you're playing in a multiplayer game, you're now limited to having to be the target, so you really are looking at, like, unless you're running like Indomitable or some other way to block for or draw in attacks for multiple players, you're really only gambling and looking at one boost card around. Where before you could be like, if you were playing in a 3-player game, you could see, like, you could just wait till you saw a number of icons that just was good value for the card, and now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's weird because it's asynchronous with the attack and thwart cards, which I think it threw everybody for a loop. Like, but an attack is triggered by an attack card, and a thwart is triggered by a thwart card. But a defense card, oh no, you can't. It doesn't trigger a defense; it reacts to a defense. So, yeah, it definitely will make the game. I don't know if it will make the game significantly harder, but it definitely changes some of the dynamics and makes it more difficult with shield block and Cosmic Flight and Preemptive Strike not being as good as we were all playing them as. So,
another small thing to know with this is that if no hero or ally is used to defend the attack is considered undefended, which is relevant to some treachery cards, I believe. That if the attack is undefended, something happens, right?
Yeah, even like Wrecker from Wrecking Crew says he gets +2 attack if the attack is undefended. So, and that's a term from like Lord of the Rings, right? That Caleb's put out, and so a lot of us just always assumed that was the case. But if you're new to this game, or you never played the other ones, maybe you didn't realize that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. Just
no.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move into the Hulk. Bruce Banner Hulk was officially announced on an FFG stream last week. He was spoiled before that on their upcoming products page that he was coming, so we kind of knew he was coming, but officially they announced him. Are you excited for the Hulk, Steve? Do you have any?
Yeah, I'm excited for any content. He's a little different than I thought. The way he flips. I really like his obligation. The way that, that's kind of how I thought the rest of him would work. You can't control him.
Right.
But you are able to control him, which, makes sense. He's a hero card. And instead of being able to control him, you can't control your hand. So.
Well, I mean,
what do you got? Yeah.
I don't think. I'll be honest. I think, the Hulk part of him, they got nailed down pretty good. But the Bruce Banner, I think, is pretty lackluster. The ability to flip at will, I get it. You want the players to have control, but it doesn't feel thematic to the character. I was hoping for something a little more dramatic because, nobody in the Marvel universe has a more intense change from their alter ego to their hero, and we didn't really get that other than the obligation, which the obligation is probably my favorite part of his pack that we saw so far. But overall, I was underwhelmed by. It kind of felt like it was a lazy design, in my opinion, for the Bruce Banner Hulk lack of interaction. But that's just my opinion.
I agree. The Bruce Banner side is draw a card, discard a card.
Yeah, so it's worse than the
worse than Captain Marvel, worse than Miss Marvel.
Flight Station, yeah.
It's more of a support card, right? If you had a support card that did that, you'd be like, oh, that's fine. I get to cycle my hand. I get to get what I want. But for your identity card, it's kind of weak. But then the Hulk side's pretty strong. So
right, and
3
his
defense, 3 attack.
Yeah, 3 attack. So we'll say Bruce Banner, right? So he's got a recovery 4. If you don't know, he's a genius scientist. His ability is called experimental research. Is an action. Draw 1 card, choose and discard 1 card, limit once per round. He has a hand size of 5 and hit points of 18. And then his hero side, the Hulk, has 0 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense, traits of Avenger and Gamma. And his ability is called Enraged, which is a force interrupt. When your turn ends, discard your hand, and he has a hand size of 4. And really, that force interrupt is not a downside because you want to play out most of your hand in all your turns anyway. So really, he's only going to be discarding 1 maybe most times. This doesn't really feel like a downside at all.
Yeah, you're just never going to be able to hold something. You're never going to be able to hold on to a defense card, so he's not going to be great for if you're, I don't know why, but protection, say, and you had desperate defense or anything like that where you're trying to hold on to it for when the villain acts or for next turn. You're just never going to be able to hold on to something. So you use it or lose it, which does feel like Hulk, at least. So.
Yeah.
I love the immovable object, though. Plus 4 hit points. I mean, he's huge now, right?
Yeah, he already has 8. He already has 18. And then you're going to give him more.
4 more and retaliate 1.
Yeah. So, Tommy, do you have any thoughts on Bruce Banner / the Hulk?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed just because I felt like one of the greatest parts of the game for me was the iconic flip between your alter ego, you're hiding out, and you're a Cape Crusader or whatever it is, but there's no more drastic of a transition than there is Bruce Banner to the Hulk because they're literally 2 different people in one body. And I just was hoping there was going to be more of a, I don't know, just
something.
I don't know, something. I think Kennedy Hawk had a really interesting idea. When you were in Hulk form, you could almost have him with a crisis icon, or I thought for sure Risky Business was the beta for the Hulk. You know what I mean? He was going to come with some sort of.
He has a rage counter or a counter or something.
That's
every time you make an attack, you put a token on. If you do something, you take a token off.
Yeah,
and then based on the tokens, he forces you to flip. Yeah. Yeah,
and the things a lot of his signature cards could be tied to that, and then even Like he's got a massive health pool, which I was assuming he was going to have, and then you can have to manage your health as a resource in the sense that like you need to take a certain amount of damage every round, just to like make sure you're staying angry, and I don't know, and like healing would remove counters, or I don't know. I didn't think it through, but I thought that's for sure what we were going to get. So getting this version, my favorite card is actually the obligation, because it's like the only thing that I love. The obligation. I just wish that mechanic was more prominent throughout.
Yeah, I think his cards in a set, Hulk Smash, Limitless Strength, they're all great. They all feel like Hulk. It's the identity card itself that is the trick. And like, they could have done something.
I agree with that.
Why does Bruce Banner have 18 hit points, right? This is the chance to have an identity card with different hit points on both sides. And you flip to Hulk and you get those extra hit points. And then when you lose those extra hit points, you flip back to Bruce or something like that, right?
Yeah, just something. I just thought that this is when you can really stretch that and flex that and explore areas. I don't know if you're going to have a chance to do it again without, like, I'm trying to think, like, other characters with, like, Venom, maybe. Like Eddie Brock and Venom could be an interesting one, or
heroes that lose control or keep control. Yeah. I'm on board with you guys.
Legion's got to have like 9 cards.
Moon Knight, bro. It always comes back to Moon Knight.
It is Moon Knight again.
Seriously, if we don't get Moon Knight, like, I'm done. Like, they're on a clicking talk here. Get on it, Caleb.
I hear there's going to be a Disney Plus show with him on it.
Yes, and I'm so excited.
I know nothing about Moon Knight. I
think he got postponed, right, or pushed back a little bit.
You watch it.
No, that's fact. I'm not slandering or anything.
Me and a guy on Discord, I think it goes by Gore. He was talking about, like, I said about you need like multiple identity cards for Moon Knight, right? And sorry, we're going on this tangent, but we are. And then he said and you need an environment card that has different phases of the moon. And I said yes, and those different phases of the moon determine which identity you're using. So that's my idea. So FFG, give me a call. I'll help you out with your Moon Knight design.
Yeah, you put one phase on each side of a card. You rotate that card 90 degrees. There's the different phase of the moon, right?
This ain't no Warhammer card game.
So I'm sorry.
I like that rotation idea. That's a good idea.
They did it with a Lord of the Rings when you were sailing on one. You're on course or off course, and you're rotating the little thing. So you just keep spinning it.
So there's already precedent for the mechanic. So
yeah,
we'll probably see it at some point. Any other thoughts on the Hulk? Any of the cards that were shown? You guys want to touch on?
I think I just agree with what Steve was saying. Like it's just the identities that feel off. As far as the cost of some of the, like, immovable object and Hulk smashed, like that's probably all you're doing those turns with the hand size that he has, unless you're drawing into like a limitless strength. And I'll tell you, if he didn't have limitless strength, or hopefully at least 2 of them, I don't know if he would be very efficient hero. But Boundless Rage is a really great thematic card because it gives you the +1 attack, but when you go to alter ego, you're forced to discard it, which I think is really great.
Makes sense.
So there's some good in here. I just think I had too high of hopes going into the preview.
I think my favorite thing, like he was saying about a movable object with the 4 hit points, but I think like the Retaliate's my favorite part.
Yeah, Retaliate's nice, especially when it's going to take 100 attacks to kill you.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're the Hulk player, right, you just always ask for everyone else's Avengers mansions, right?
No, you tell them to give you Hulk. Need cards.
No stairs. What about
I was gonna say I like the you'll pay for that and toe to toe. Those both are look
toe
fun.
to toe looks awesome.
Yeah.
Toe to toe. It has my boy on it, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I knew you'd like that. All right. I guess if nobody else has any thoughts on any more thoughts on the Hulk, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about, or should we wind this thing down?
I'm fine winding it down. I think of all the content I've heard on the Hulk, we're by far the most negative. And I was kind of relieved that you kind of fell in line with us, Steve.
I wasn't sure because like Hulk Smash looks great.
Yeah, the Hulk is awesome. It's just the
the guy sold me on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like
that we were going to flex there. I thought they were going to flex on us.
Yeah, and like I try not to be negative, right? People have accused me of being negative in Star Wars Destiny and stuff towards FFG, but I just think I'm fair, right? So if they do something good that I like, I will say that, and if they do something I don't like, I'm going to say that. So the Hulk, I like the Hulk and the Hulk's design for the Hulk, but the Bruce Banner stuff is pretty shitty in my opinion, and that's just how I feel. So
I wonder who did this one, like if it was Michael or Caleb or somebody else, because they have had like Matt Newman did Black Widow, and she looks fun. So I wonder if they had somebody else come in and help them, or who can we pin the blame on?
It was on the stream, because I was kind of curious. I always pay attention to that because like when I found out that they kind of were doing like a guest designer thing, like I found that interesting. So like I have been paying attention on the streams, and Boggs said I think he just said him. Was it him? Caleb. I think he mentioned Nate French and Jeremy Zworn were the only people that he mentioned by name, but he didn't give anybody like specific credit for it. I don't know.
Oh, right. It was just sort of we did this.
Yeah, I think it was like a community takes a village kind of thing. I almost wonder if they had like a radical version of the Hulk that got squashed because of, barrier to entry and accessibility.
He's like the fifth hero in. Come on.
I know, but because he's the Hulk and he would be a desirable one to play, that maybe they just wanted to lower the barrier. Like, let's be honest, Doctor Strange doesn't carry the same amount of like clout that the Hulk does. At least to not the common fan. Not yet, at least. But I'm a very positive person generally, and even with gaming typically. And I've been a big fan of everything they've done up to this point. And I'm a fan of the Hulk. I just was let down a little bit. I just think it was a missed opportunity.
Yep, I agree. Those are echoes my own feelings. Hall of Heroes.
I'm hoping that we only see 1, 2. What do we have? 5 of his cards.
Yeah.
So there's still a bunch we haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we'll get a card that says, "Do this thing, flip back to Bruce Banner," right?
Mm-hmm.
Or flip your identity. I wonder if we'll get more. If there's a chance for any of those cards that force you to flip after you play them.
I hope so. I really
hope
do.
so too. Yeah.
Because that gives you that choice. Like, oh man, I could pound on this guy, but then I got to flip back, and then they're going to thwart against me, and I'm already So that'd be, or if you a really awesome card, but then you're stunned or something like that, right? And the only way to remove the stun is to flip, or I don't know, something. There might still be something. We haven't seen all those cards.
Yeah, it's definitely too early to write it off, for sure. And I think he's going to be a good hero, like a very playable, solid, fun, enjoyable hero to play. So
yeah, 100%. All we're saying is there was an opportunity, and we think they missed that opportunity.
They missed it.
That's all we're saying.
I agree. What you're gonna do is you're gonna use Bruce Banner round 1 for that extra mulligan. Maybe you're gonna flip to Hulk and never flip back.
Yeah, unless you have to.
Right, unless your
obligation. Get your obligation.
Your obligation comes up. Yeah, you're never gonna flip back.
I will die as the Hulk.
Yeah. I mean, if you're flipping back and forth, you're doing something wrong with the Hulk.
Yeah.
It's not Miss Marvel, bro.
Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up is who picks the art for the little head icons? Because some of these are pretty rough looking.
He referenced that too. So that's an in-house designer, graphic designer they have that does that, and they've kept them all like within the similar vein of style. So they have like a consistent guy that does those.
Okay. Another thing I want to bring up is who does the playmat art. Have you guys seen this Hulk playmat art? It's probably the worst one we've seen so far.
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't.
Is it on the?
It's on Hall of Heroes. If you go up to the different.
Oh, I see it. It's right on there. I have the FFG news page up for him too. Yeah, he's got like a Beatles haircut.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of that look for the Hulk. It's like why wouldn't you just use like the limitless strength art? or something.
Oh yeah,
You know,
so, yeah,
like that art is good for the Hulk. I don't know, just more missed opportunities. All right, Steve,
well, I know for a fact too. Some of this stuff is not like Caleb and Michael. They don't have control of who's picking that playmat, right?
Right. Yeah, I know.
And some of that other stuff too. There's
They just
marketing
design the
and-
cards. They don't
Yeah.
pick the art.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. Like even Caleb referenced, I had the Doctor Strange promo, threw it on his desk, like check this out, and he's like, "Oh, that's amazing." So I mean, it's not. I'm not blaming like anybody specific or I don't whether from a design standpoint, because again, it's a community thing, and they have people to answer to and a vision to accomplish, no matter what we think. You know, we're not getting paid to do this. We just kind of like to talk about it because we're such fanboys.
Because we're nerds.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
From art to design, yeah, we're uber nerds. I can't believe a girl married me. Like, come on,
On purpose.
ridiculous. I
Like,
know.
You
Yeah, well, I
you
didn't
ain't
even
go
have
on
to
one of
trick
them
her.
Russian websites or nothing.
Those
Yeah.
those shotguns, like
No. Yep. Just got her real drunk, and here we are.
That's how every great love story starts.
Yeah. The funny part is we don't even need drink. Neither of us do. So figure that one out.
All right, Steve. I think we'll start to wind down. It was good having you on, man. I enjoyed it. I'm sure Tommy did. You want to plug your stuff? Say a couple last words, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I also had a great time. So thanks for having us on, or having me on. Again, that's Critical Encounters. You can find us. You just search Facebook or any of your podcast players for Critical Encounters. We have 5 or 6 episodes out right now. We'll have a few more coming down the pipe. And if you watch our Facebook page, we may have a few options to vote on what you'd like us to talk about coming up. And I don't know. Keep on fighting, guys.
Any last words from you, Tommy?
No, I think Steve covered it. Thank you for coming on, Steve. It was a blast talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, one last quick thing. I want to thank both our listeners and both our patrons that we got, Kennedy Hawk and Conspiracy. We appreciate you guys.
That's right.
Check out the side scheme for the podcast, obviously, because you're listening to it. Articles 3 days a week, occasional Twitch streams and YouTube videos. So for Steve from the Critical Encounters, Tommy of Titan, I'm BananaCrapshoot. Stay scheming, champions. And then I hit this button here. I play something. I don't know what that button does.